For this afternoon and tonight, a significant winter storm, including heavy snow with blowing and freezing snow.
Hello, and welcome to the SnowBrains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most intelligent people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge on to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, a mountain guide, an Alaska heli ski guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of SnowBrains, and right now we're wrapping up our supernatural ski trip here in Argentine Patagonia. The weather has been so bad, we've only managed to ski exactly one time in the past 17 days. I can hear the wind blowing on the roof right now. Tomorrow we pack up after 2 months with no plan, no itinerary, and a completely random road trip ahead. All I know is that I need to make it to Ushuaia in the next 15 days to guide my 10th ski expedition to Antarctica with IceX Expeditions. And honestly, I couldn't be more grateful for the chaos. My guest today is Mike Rogge, the editor and owner of the Mountain Gazette, one of the most iconic outdoor publications ever made. Rogge revived the Gazette from dormancy in 2020 and turned it into something truly special. A huge format, beautifully written, unapologetically independent magazine that celebrates mountain life in its rawest form. He's also a lifelong skier, storyteller, and creative force who's helped shape ski culture through work at Powder Magazine, Ski Journal, and his own production company called Verb Cabin. Today, we'll talk about how Mike brought Mountain Gazette back from the dead, what independent media really means in 2025, and where the soul of mountain culture is headed next. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. How are you today, man?
I'm doing well, Miles. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. It's an honor to have you. I mean, you're a legend in this industry, dude. To me, you really are. You've done so much. But I got to know, when did you ski last?
The last time I skied was I think it was Memorial Day at Palisades. Yeah, it was, because I remember a couple weeks later, I was at my sister-in-law's wedding in Central Park in New York.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was like 100 degrees. And I just remember thinking, like, just only like a couple weeks ago, I was not sweating profusely. But
East Coast
yeah,
humidity
so
is another world.
It's been a minute. When was the last time you skied?
I skied on Saturday. So it was,
Perfect.
and today is Thursday. So yeah, a few days ago. But we're not skiing much here on this trip, man. We've only skied 11 days in 5 or 6 weeks, man. This is tough going down here. How many days do you think you skied last winter?
So I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And for a while, I was trying to determine if whether or not being on the subway chair at Alpine Meadows counted as a ski day.
Definitely
And
counts.
I'm counting it now. So I think like solo adult ski days, probably somewhere in the 80 to 90 range, but with kids, probably in the like 110 to 120.
Damn, dude. Okay, you're dedicated.
I mean, this is why we're here. There's a lot of places. I was just at a magazine conference in Manhattan 2 weeks ago called Case Sensitive, and a lot of the other publishers of magazines were like, I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know how you pull it off. It's like the whole business is really built around our ability for all of us to get out and ski and bike and hike and be outside. And so I don't feel like we'd be very authentic if we were like, we make Mountain Gazette from a high rise in Boston, Massachusetts. You know, like we had nothing wrong with Boston, but I'm in Tahoe for a reason.
That said, I will say, given your success and what you've done in the industry, I assumed you were going to say like 30 days and that you're just slammed and working all the time. So I love that you're still skiing, because that's something that I do as well, right? Like the idea for me is the business supports my skiing, not the other way around. Because I know I have friends who've started businesses in the outdoor space and they don't participate at all anymore because they're just so busy.
I understand that. I do think there's a lot I learned from, say, like a company like Patagonia or our friend Dan over at Flylow. And it's the idea of like, we all got into this for a reason. And the reason was not to ski less. It was to ski more and to find ways to ski more. And so I felt like, look, we have to take care of our readers first and foremost, take care of the people who work for Mountain Gazette. We have to take care of our contributors. But I think trying to simplify the systems that are in place for running a magazine was a big thing for me, relaunching the magazine. And noticed that like I put quite a few people, literally hundreds of people at this point, before myself. That being said, if it works for them, it's going to work for me. And if it's working for me, then I'm skiing. So that's the big one. Just taking care of the people who are taking care of us and not overpromising. You know, I mean, we don't do a podcast like this. We don't have a daily newsletter. We don't have aggregation or online content. We don't make videos. Like, we just make 2 magazines a year, and we promise they'll be good. So it's just managing expectations.
That's strong, man. I like that strategy. Well, Mike, I really want to dig into all of this, the print media in general, because not many people have the perspective you do, especially in the snow sports space. Talk about the Mountain Gazette, talk about your time at Powder Magazine and more. But first, I would love it if you could grace us with a quick and dirty 2 or 3 minute life story. Do you mind doing that?
No problem. So I was born in Glens Falls, New York, in upstate New York, in the southern Adirondacks. Not too far from our friend Andy Hayes, actually.
No way.
Who's
Oh my gosh.
Legendary KT22 skier. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years into knowing Andy that I realized that he grew up about 15 minutes from where I grew up, and we skied the same mountain.
No way.
West Mountain. And so, yeah, I grew up skiing in New York. The benefit of ORDA, which is the Olympic Regional Development Association, like I skied Gore Mountain a lot on the weekends. Whiteface was always a treat. Started venturing off into far off lands called Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine and Massachusetts to ski more. Got out to Western New York, skied Pennsylvania, Connecticut, just trying to like really experience all that the East Coast had to offer me. A big driver for me being young was getting my license at 16. Back then, you could get your driver's license on your 30 days after your birthday.
Oh, wow.
And so my birthday's in mid-October, and I got my license before Thanksgiving. And I was off. I learned quickly how to sleep in your car and not die. And I was definitely not the most talented skier in the group that I was in, but given where I grew up, Jason Leventhal and Line Skis started 40 minutes south of me down in Albany, New York. And so they were doing a lot of beta testing for early ski boards, early skis at West Mountain. And I just remember feeling that like this twin tip revolution that was happening was not just happening out west. It was also happening right there in the Northeast. And so I quickly just felt like I needed to write down what was happening. I really felt like I was witnessing ski history happening before my eyes. I had a ski area that didn't allow skiers in the snowboard park.
Oh, wow. Old school.
Old school, man. And also, like, the other thing is, like, the friends that I had in school, I played baseball and a little bit of football. I was certainly good friends with all the guys on my team, but my, like, true friends that I'm still friends with today are the kids that I skied and the kids that snowboarded alongside us. Like, there was never this, like, skier or snowboarder versus thing. We always thought that was so funny. But yeah, growing up in the Northeast, it was pretty natural for me to go to school there. I graduated from Potsdam, which is a SUNY school, State University of New York school. I think it was just ranked like the 67th best regional small liberal arts college by U.S. News, and there were only 50 schools ranked. So
that's great.
It was good. It was good for me.
That's great.
I'm very proud alumni from there. First in my family to graduate from college. After that, worked for Ski the East and Meathead Films, making East Coast. Running the editorial room at Ski the East was really fun. Interviewing Johnny Mosley about why mogul skiing wasn't dead, and just like learning about ski culture, not from a pro athlete standpoint, but from like a regional hero standpoint. Finding out that most pro athletes are regional superstars first. They're legends of their own mountain, and just finding that we all kind of had the same rhythm, if you will, no matter where you were, whether you were in Connecticut skiing or you were in Southern New York skiing or you were at Whiteface or you were at Jay Peak or wherever. I think Ski the East really taught me a lot about ski bum culture and ski culture, and respecting the past, being very present and hopeful for the future is kind of the East Coast mantra. As my friends say, it's the land of eternal optimism. You're always one storm away from having season turnaround. From there, was hired at Powder Magazine. To my knowledge, I was the youngest editor hired at
How old
Powder.
were you?
That's what I was 23.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I was perfect age for someone to go work at Powder who, like, I think arrogantly, I thought I knew everything. I would say that Ski the East and Meathead Films was the ending of my like undergrad in ski bum culture, and Powder was my master's program. Getting to Powder was really cool. I worked under Derek Taylor and Matt Hansen, two legends in the sport, two people that I deeply respect to this day. Jake Moe told me that Powder was a license to steal. He's a co-founder of Powder. He's like, Mike, you're here, you're young, you're single, you have a corporate credit card. Powder's respected in the industry. You can go where you want. And so naturally, the first place I went was the United Kingdom.
Oh, weird.
Ski dry slope. And again, like, I think it was the Ski the East of me was like, where these, it's weird to talk about underrepresented communities in skiing, given that it's a pretty affluent sport. But at the same time, I felt that if you could see yourself in Powder via an East Coast story or a UK story or a weird pond skimming story, like, then maybe you could make the jump that I did, which was like seeing yourself at a place like Mammoth or a place like Alpine Meadows or a place like Alta or Snowbird or Jackson Hole. These were places that I couldn't dream of going to when I was a kid. But then I think for me, it was like trying to introduce street skiing into Powder was really important to me. I spent 3 years there. It was incredible. And then, dude, as so many of us, as you know, I discovered a place called North Lake Tahoe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've never looked back. I've been out here for almost 15 years. My kids were born in
Wow.
Truckee. My wife and I were married in Tahoe City. Dan from Flylow officiated our wedding. Michelle Parker poached it. Like, I feel like, yeah, this is where, I guess that's more than 3 minutes, but this is ultimately where I think I was always
Keep
supposed
going.
to
This is fantastic, dude.
So, yeah, it's been a crazy ride. I'm about to turn 40. Started writing about skiing for Newschoolers.com when I was 17. And so I've been doing this for over 20 years, Miles, which is wild to think about.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's impressive. Well, you didn't hit the transition into Mountain Gazette, which is perfect because that's where we're going now. I like the blunt question, and I've seen your T-shirts. Is print dead? What do you believe?
Well, I believe in print ain't dead enough that we paid an intellectual property lawyer to trademark it. So we own the trademark on print ain't dead. We really believe in it.
No way. You have that trademark. Print ain't dead.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, because actually, of all people, Amazon was ripping it off and putting T-shirts up on Amazon. And we don't sell on Amazon. But either way, I get it. Jeff Bezos made a lot of money ripping bookstores off. He should probably start ripping magazines off too. Print's doing fine, actually. I feel like it's a medium. I've always likened it to the idea of like radio didn't die when the TV came along, and newspapers and print, the Gutenberg press didn't kill painting. I don't think mediums can die. I think they need to be redefined. I think the business model of print is dead. Like the 90s era, we get 1 million eyeballs on our magazine every month, so you should spend money. I mean, I think you could spend like $500 on Facebook and get 1 million eyeballs on it.
Yeah, right.
So I think what print is it had to be revisited. It's intimate. It's in someone's home. Thank God, like if you put your phone down, the TikTok videos don't live in your house, Right. But with print, it lives on your coffee table. It says a lot about who you are when people come over. I think everyone's a little embarrassed by their browsing history. I don't think Mountain Gazette's not something you need to be embarrassed by. You can keep it out. People see it. They check it out. They ask, what the fuck is this? And yeah, we're heading into year 6 of this.
Wow.
We've been profitable since like our second or third week in business.
Damn.
We're supporting 4 full-time employees. We're paying 100% healthcare. We've got 12 contractors, about 150 to 200 contributors that we work with. And we're still growing. For us, it's certainly not dead. And for all the magazines I met a couple of weeks ago at the Case Sensitive, it was our first independent magazine. It was in New York. It was in Manhattan. It was in the Seaport. It was in this high rise. And there were probably close to 100 plus indie magazines. And we're not talking like just sports magazines. Like I met Leah, who runs a dumpling magazine, like Soup Dumpling magazine. And it's sick. If you like dumplings, it's a It's called Above the Fold. Saveur,
nice.
a food magazine's doing great. Racket, tennis magazine's doing great. There's a mag called Amateurs, which is a sports magazine that only features amateur athletes. I mean, I just think niche media is doing quite well, and we're probably 5 to 10 years from there being a bit of a golden era again for magazines and for print products.
And what do you see building up to that?
I think everyone's finding their voice. I think one thing about the internet is it used to be really easy to find your niche community. I actually think it's a little harder now, given how many platforms there are, given how segmented the internet is. For example, I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know what that community is whatsoever. But I'm certain there's people there that would love Mountain Gazette. I'm just not there. And so I think we need magazines, just time. You need people to try your magazine and fall in love with it. You need people to try your magazine and hate it and cancel. I think churn is actually one of the best things we have right now. Is if Netflix sucked, you'd cancel it. But the reason why we all keep our Netflix subscription is we like Stranger Things, or we like whatever shows are out there. So I do think that we're still in the early days of this great print revival. And what I find interesting is I know a lot of people respectfully with podcasts that are not paying their bills with a podcast. I don't know many magazines that are in year 3 or 4 that aren't doing it. It seems like if you get it off the ground and people don't really enjoy it, it crashes pretty quickly. It's like one of Elon Musk's jets. It didn't work.
That makes sense. I am so curious to take one step back in how you acquired it, because the rumor is it was a napkin deal over Coors at a bar in Denver or something like that. So how did you end up with the Mountain Gazette?
Yeah, so I wrote a kind of a more complete picture of this in the anthology book that we're putting out. It's called Printed Dead. Comes out in January. But yeah, so I had tried to acquire another title and it just didn't work out. But I spent a year, Miles, wearing Birkenstocks and trying to go into VC offices and raise money. Literally, I was walking in with a backpack.
You went the full-on VC route.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, and I ended up securing $2 million in funding to buy a magazine. And along the way, I was asking people like Judy McGrath, who's a co-founder of MTV. I just had developed this network of people that I respected. I never asked them for anything, but I started asking them questions like, if you were starting a media company today, what would you not do? It's really easy to tell people, I would do this or whatever. And what I found from talking to these 10 people was subscription models worked and low overhead worked, and just being honest about your scope. I think everyone at that point wanted to basically stand up a 30 or 40 person international newsroom. And I just didn't think that was realistic. I also didn't think that was realistic for where contributors would be in the world. So spent a year doing this. Deal didn't work out. Bummer.
Wow.
Major failure.
That's brutal.
Brutal. And so I was up in Alaska with this company called Grundens.
Oh yeah,
with
Matty Jackson.
Matt Jackson. His dad, Mike Jackson, I will always credit as a key advisor for me during these early days of Mountain Gazette, because Mike famously fell off a boat in the Bering Sea, and he's part of the Bering Sea Swim Club. Most people die when that happens. That was the impetus for him really getting Grundens off the ground. Wow. And what I liked about Mike was that Mike, as the founder of Grundens USA, would still call his shops that he had opened up 10, 12, 15 years earlier. He'd go pay him a visit, not because the account was in danger or they owed him anything, just to be a person. How's business? And talk to fishermen and talk to anglers. How you doing? And so, long story short, I'm up in Alaska. I'm filming with Grundens. I'm directing a short piece for Mike and Matt. And I got a call from a friend who said Mountain Gazette was available. I was like, yes, I have something finally to apply this business model to that I developed over a year by talking to people. And so I spent the $40. It's $40 an hour to get internet up in Alaska at that point.
Wow.
In Unalaska, Dutch Harbor. I talked to Blake, the former owner of the Gazette. He told me price. I said, let's keep talking. I want to know, because he had bought Mountain Gazette and tried to revive it.
How long did Blake have it?
So Blake, I don't know how long he had, but Blake shut it down in 2012. And so this is the fall of 2019.
Oh, so it'd been closed for a while.
Yeah, yeah. And so Blake and I had like 1 or 2 calls a month for like 4 or 5 months. And then January rolls around and he's like, I'll be at Outdoor Retailer in Denver. I had no plans to go to Outdoor Retailer in Denver, but I booked a flight. My wife was working in hotels at the time. She got me a discount on a hotel, thank God. And Blake wanted to meet in the morning. And so I remember going home from Chris Benchetler had just launched his first Grateful Dead movie. And I went home early and woke up the next morning and went to meet Blake. He sat down. I had written a check out that morning of what I thought I could afford. It was like, let me put it this way, I could clear it in my bank account. So nice. That was it. And I slid it across in a hotel envelope. And the waitress said, can I get you guys something? Blake looked down and he said, yeah, if the check clears, you have a deal and I'll take a Coors Banquet beer. And he ordered a banquet beer for me. And he insisted that we put it in the bill of sale. And so I bought him a beer, bought myself a beer, paid for the magazine, shook his hand, walked across the street with a bill of sale, had Dan Abrams, who I just mentioned officiated my wedding, signed the bill of sale as a witness. And that was that. And then I was walking around. I got an interview that day with The Daily, which is an outdoor retailer like daily newspaper. It was one of the main stories of Mountain Gazette's relaunching.
Wow. Bravo, man. That is a great story.
January of 2020, Miles, I had no idea what was about to smack us all in the face. COVID was 2 months away.
That. So I love the attitude and the confidence to have had that check pre-written. And what was COVID for you?
It was good in a way because it forced me to be home. The time I was traveling a lot for work. And so Mountain Gazette was sort of reborn out of desperation. My wife worked in hotels. I was traveling. And that was shut down. So like we had savings, but it was like, okay, like our contingency plan was like, we're not going to be able to stay in Tahoe for more than like a year. We got to figure something out. And so I received the entire archive. I started spending my work days. We were in a daycare bubble. So my son was still in daycare. And when we dropped him off at daycare and I would come read old issues of Mountain Gazette to figure out, understand the culture more, and stood up a website. Merritt Lentz was the first person I really worked with to get the website off the ground. I knew him because he had built Moment's website.
Oh, nice.
And
Moment skis.
He took a chance on us, and like he was living in a van at the time, and we built the site. John Coleman, my art director, who's been with me for all 5 years, Kim Stravers, our copy editor, like we got together, came up with a scope of what we were going to do. We launched subscriptions. And I just knew that our break-even point was like 400 subscriptions, and our profitability was sustainable at 1,000. So I'm proud to say this too. Hans Smith from Armada actually wrote Mountain Gazette the first check. Armada was a super influential brand for me, obviously. Growing up, launching Armada with all those athletes, JP Auclair was a personal friend and a mentor for me when he was alive. Like, just the spirit of Armada being the first advertiser in Mountain Gazette is something that Armada actually has never advertised since, and I'm okay with that. I will be loyal. I'm deeply loyal to the Armada brand, Hans, and everybody that has ever worked there. Chris O'Connell, Josh Bishop is a good friend of mine. Actually, he shot the cover of our Print Ain't Dead book.
Oh, wow.
And so Armada came in. And I don't even know if I've ever said this before on a podcast, but like our money that Armada gave us for that first ad covered the entirety of the print bill.
Oh, wow.
But
that's huge.
It was huge. It was not, it was only 1,000 magazines, so it wasn't exactly a huge expense, but it was big for me, more than I could afford on my own. And Flylow and Dan, Dan came in, and it was incredible. So like between those two brands, I had enough to make the magazine and pay the contributors. And that was it. So I was like, okay, cool. I can make this thing, be debt free, but I need to sell 1,000 copies of it. So I can
now you got to sell them.
Second issue. We were able to get 1,000 subscribers in our first 6 months.
Damn.
And I remember I was in Alpine Meadows and I looked at our Shopify app and I was like, oh my God, we sold our last copy of 194 today. And now what's really cool is 5 years later, Miles, 194 has sold on eBay before for like $1,100.
No
It's a
way.
collector's item. Only 1,000 people have ever
cool.
gotten it. And so it was really big, and I knew it was cool as I got to make another one. And I think that's sort of the secret of making magazines is like, you're not as good as your current issue. You're only as good as your next issue. And so it's like the way I built the business model and implemented is that like we could lose all of our advertising right now and could make Mountain Gazette for another 30 years.
No
So,
way. That's because it's a subscription base.
Subscription base. And
Can you share how many you have?
sure. Yeah. As of today, we have about 33,000
That's
subscribers.
incredible. And you charge, is like about $100 a year or less than that?
It's $89 a year.
Wow. I mean, and the quick math is $3 million there, man. That's amazing. In this industry and with what you're doing, congratulations. Continue. That's remarkable.
Thanks, man. I mean, I think the big thing for me is, like I said, we have one big thing for me is like, I remember working places and having to like pay for some of my healthcare and just like how hard that was for me, struggling, being young. And so I want to make sure if we were going to have full-time employees, we were going to pay 100% of their healthcare. That felt good. I felt like that's one less thing they need to worry about. Another thing is like, I wanted to be able, it was great asking my friends to write pieces from their home. It's better sending my friends places, sending these contributors that I love places. I wanted to be really aspirational with what contributors we could get, you know? And the fact is like, a lot of people will do stuff for passion. I want people to do stuff for passion and because it made sense financially. So we pay really well. And that was
That's
key
great.
for me. We pay on time. To my knowledge, I mean, this is the 11th issue we've worked on, and we've always paid our contributors before they receive the magazine. That's incredibly rare in
That's
publishing.
huge, man. Usually you're scratching and clawing to get paid.
And begging. And I just didn't want people to do that. We wanted to be transparent with our readers and talk about, you know, what we're doing. We're very transparent with our advertisers about what we will do and what we won't do for them. We don't run advertorial. We don't run paid media trips. And the goal for me is to get to a place, and we're really close, where 100% of the stories in Mountain Gazette are fully funded by us and by our reader base. Because we like turning it around and saying, look, we sent Ari Schneider to Europe for 6 weeks, and he spent 13 months reporting on a story, and now you have a 27,000 word piece that you paid for.
Yeah.
And like no one else has this. Only available in print. It's not digital, and it's here it is. And I think that circular model makes a lot of sense to our readers. And at the same time, we say to our readers, we have no investors, we have no shareholders, we have subscribers. And so our subscribers have an open dialogue with us. You know, we invest money in customer service teams, replace issues that get screwed up in the mail. We just invested in like more durable magazines by upping our paper. We use some of that revenue. So it's not like I'm like Scrooge McDuck over here sitting in a vault with gold coins. Like we're putting the capital to use. I think our readers see that too. We had a lot of ad interest. Rather than just like take away editorial pages, we added 30 pages. And so
There you go.
they got 2 more features in the magazine that are big, substantial pieces that we wouldn't have been able to run otherwise. So I think the key to the business model is really not being a piece of shit. And I'm trying constantly to not be a piece of shit and to try to like hear people out, listen more than I talk, and really let our readers and our contributors inform us about what they want to do. And I think that's the cool thing is I always say it's not my magazine, it's yours. And I believe that because where it's evolved to, Miles, is not what I ever would have imagined 5 years ago. I thought this was going to be a small book club of about 1,000 to 2,000 readers that I was going to just really enjoy, a little labor of love. Because I think that's what outdoor is, really. Outdoor media is, it's a labor of love. So it's been really good to all of us at the magazine and to our readers and our contributors. So it's a great community.
Well, the soundbite of not be a piece of shit sounds exciting, but I feel like you're on the other side of the spectrum, Mike. I didn't know all this. This is, maybe a lot of people don't. This is the purest form of snow sports media I've heard of. I mean, the idea that you're paying people up front, that you're paying for these stories. It really crystallized for me when you said, yeah, I sent a guy to Europe for 6 weeks and he does research for a year, and then you get a 27,000 word story that only exists in one place. That is really unique. And I also like the idea that no paid advertorials. You are essentially creating these articles without any bias either, right? I mean, the only bias they have is towards the magazine, and that's pure form of media where they are directly talking to the audience and giving a voice to, I don't know, people that you wouldn't normally hear from, man. I love that. And so when you did go back and read those old magazines and you learned about the culture, what did you come up with? What is the culture? What is the goal? What's the mission statement?
Yeah, so I won't speak for what I thought of Mountain Gazette. I was reading it. I'll say what other people said. Is Denver Weekly called it the village voice of the mountains. It's never been dead center. It's always been a bit left to center out there. It used to be called Skiers Gazette from 1966 to 1971. And people would write about why they quit the U.S. ski team. And they were not kicked off. They quit. And these are controversial stories.
That's a story nobody talks about.
They would write about, there'd be a new human potential movement. And rather than just write an opinion piece that's uninformed, someone would go be a part of the human potential movement for 3 weeks and come back and be like, look, there's merit to this. This is out there. Tom Benton did a lot of the early covers. He created the first Earth Day poster. It attracted people like Edward Abbey. It attracted people like Hunter S. Thompson. It attracted people who felt like they could write. Mike Moore, the founding editor of the magazine, was known for being a light-handed editor. And I've always felt like I was a light-handed editor. And what that means is it's not, I think it gets misconstrued as it's a lazy editor. It's not true. My contributors can tell you, I'm constantly texting, calling, and emailing them, asking, how you doing? Where's the piece going? What's up with this? Where are you feeling? It's more of a pre-edit editor. So by the time the piece arrives, I know what it's supposed to be because the writer and I have just talked about it philosophically and where we think it's going to go. Mike Moore was the same way. The other thing is I love it when people go long. I think it's very easy to cut. I think it's a lot harder to add, especially if you're in the flow, if you're feeling good about stuff. I equate it to if you've had an incredible ski day, you come back, your boots are off, you're done. And then someone's like, hey, let's go back up and get some more shots. It's doable, but you might not be in that same good feeling flow that you were in during that first sesh. So I found that it was funny. It was irreverent. It always attracted names that were probably a bit bigger than the title. And, I've aspired to that as well. I mean, we've had Sadie Stein, who's the editor of the New York Times Book Review, write for us. Whoa. She's written twice for us. Steve Martin, the comedian, has done a cartoon the last 5 issues.
Really? I had no idea. That's so cool.
He and Harry Bliss have a 6-page cartoon called Steve and Harry. Their pitches are incredible. The last one, it was literally after SNL 50 when Harry and Steve hit us up and were like, Steve had just hosted Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, and he emailed me, I think the next cartoon's about swamps. Okay. We're like, what do you mean? And it's no more context. There's whatever. That'll be in our fall issue that comes out in about a month. And Rembert Brown, who wrote for Grantland, who has interviewed President Obama, and wrote for New York Mag. Just one of the best sports writers, I think, of the last 20 years. He's a new contributor. And he's writing about the culture of being outside waiting for buses in Los Angeles. I think what's been cool, Jimmy Chin has shot a cover for us. We've just had these incredible contributors. I do think the big thing is that I wanted Mountain Gazette to be a canvas, Miles, for other people, not for me. I've only written one feature for the entire magazine. I don't think it was that good.
I was going to ask you that. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't even include it in the anthology. I'm proud of it, but I just I write the intro. And I think the idea is that I want this to be a place where writers feel like this is their real voice. Statement pieces that they look back on their careers and say, yeah, I wrote that. That was a good one. The idea is to really just foster this place where people feel like they can be their true selves. And what I tell people once they get assigned, I'm like, hey, your voice, you've already done the hard part, which is establishing your career and your voice. Now just give us that here. Give us what you have. Man, it makes our magazine unique.
And give us a mini history. So hearing Hunter S. Thompson's name makes me think it was maybe in Aspen or started in the 60s.
Started in Colorado, 1966. It was by Mike Moore. It was Skiers Gazette from 1966 to 1971. 1972, they changed the name to Mountain Gazette because they found it just fit the editorial better. They weren't just writing about skiing. I've always identified with Mountain Gazette's story and my story very similar in that it's got the soul of a skier at its heart. That's what it started as. That's what I am. And then it's always been really curious. It ran from 72 to 79. It's kind of the golden era. In 1999, John Fahey and George Stranahan, who was the founder of the Woody Creek Tavern, Flying Dog Brewery, like a bunch of guys came together and relaunched it in 2000 and ran it until 2012. It's taken a variety of forms, from being a paid subscription to a free weekly, monthly, everything. And then I relaunched it in 2020, and it's now 2025, almost 2026. And I'm doing everything I can right now to make sure it never ends up in a garage or a storage unit or bankruptcy ever again. So some of those things include, we're partnering with the Nevada Art Museum in Reno, and they are going to be the official home of our archive.
Wow.
And we're going to work with the University of Nevada at Reno, their journalism program, to allow full access to our archives, including our issues that we've made. And the big thing for me is then, God forbid, knock on wood, if anything ever happens to me, the magazine has a place where it lives. It doesn't just go to this storage locker behind me or something like that. You know, I don't want that to happen. Working on bringing up editorial talent, because I'm 40 and I know that some good editors can last in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I don't know if that's who I am yet. I will see. I'm going to take it like one issue at a time. But if there comes a time where I think that it's stale or it needs a fresh face, we're trying to develop some talent within so that we can have a easy succession plan with the magazine. And my hope is that Mountain Gazette outlives all of us, and that it becomes... It's funny, everyone rallies in independent media against legacy media. I want this to become legacy media. I want Mountain Gazette in the fall and the spring to be what maybe the Warren Miller tour was for us when we were kids, or what a Level 1 or Poor Boys or MSP premiere was for me as a kid, or what Powder was for us. Like, I want this to be reliable. I want my kids' to know that it's there every 6 months. That's really important to me. So we're really looking super far into the future and trying to make something that's going to last a really long time.
What do people tell you about having something tactile when almost everything now lives on a screen? It is so ephemeral.
I think one of the reasons why I chose the size is that, one, outdoor photography is supposed to be this size.
Ooh, tell us the size.
It's 11. So it's 11 by 17, which means that it's 22 inches wide. It's almost 2 feet wide and 1.5 feet tall.
Wow.
When it's fully open. It doesn't really lend itself to being something you can do with something else. Like, it's so big, it's basically a window shade for your face. So you can't really watch playoff baseball or football with it. You can't really scroll with it because it takes 2 hands to hold. We ran an ad campaign daring people to show us how they could read it and drink a beer at the same time. And those are pretty funny.
That's great.
But also, I think the big thing is, like, you know, this 2 miles, like, you know, being a skier, like, when you're picking a line, that size really helps because you're able to see maybe a couple cracks that you couldn't see, or some rocks or Bergstrom or something like that. You know, I think when you're rock climbing, for example, like, it's nice to be able to see a crag and, like, really see the intricacies, maybe pick out that loose rock. But I think from a consumer standpoint, and I don't mean like financial consumer, I mean like consuming media, context is everything. And so when you're reading a piece about a far off land, it's cool to demonstrate in a big size how far off it is. People say the mosquitoes were as big as sparrows, you know, like Ming Poon did in a piece for us. I think it's cool to show a mosquito the size of a sparrow and freak people out. I think it's cool when someone says it was like the deepest day of their life, when you can see through their goggle lens and you can see their eyes, and you can see, like, that's a good turn. Yeah. Not just because of the snow texture and everything else. We could, yeah, it's just like, you're like, oh my God, like, I think there's just so many, like, feelings and euphoria and disappointment and sadness, and there's just, like, a lot of emotion in outdoor activities. And I think that's where the photography and the size lends itself. I think on the art side, it's cool to see Harry's pen. It's cool to see size, brushstrokes. You know what I mean? Like, it's very cool to see the humanity in this work. Our next issue has like a big piece with Jeremy Jones, and we scanned 50 pieces of his artwork and put it, and I basically laid it out the way Jeremy actually lays out his own personal journals. And that's kind of how the piece is written, as a personal journal about aspiring to be a top of the line pro snowboarder while also being a great father and a great partner, and like raising your kids in culture. And it's called The Dance Between Heaven and Hell. It's really good. But
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, the size is very intentional for sure.
Well, I think the secret to Instagram, which not everybody understands, is that a lot of pictures look good when they're really small and shrunk down. So you have to put some real art and some real power into it to get it to look good when it's that size, when it's 1.5 feet by 2 feet. And there's a lot more detail. There's a lot more story.
You can't hide. Those soft spots are really soft. A soft focus is really a soft focus. And there's a lot of times we get the high res image and we're like, oh no, we have to swap it out. Yeah. But I think photographers appreciate it too, because we're not shy about it. We're honest. Hey, it's a little soft.
That's good. We just had to take the best policy, man.
We just had to take an incredible unseen Shane McConkey photo out of the magazine from Hank DeVray's gallery because it was soft. And Hank's like,
oh, that's sad.
Well, what's great is that like, it's great. We put a Dr. Rob Gaffney photo in instead. So
I'm okay with that.
I think Shane would be okay with that too.
Me too, man. Gosh. We had Rob on this podcast, and Andrea reached out to me to get the audio file because maybe they didn't have his voice. And as a guy, that hit me so hard.
I'll tell you, when I was freelancing at Powder before I started the Gazette, I was writing for Vice. There was like 3 years where around this time, actually it was like in August, Rob and I used to meet at a bar, and Rob was by no means a big drinker. I think we would just sit there and drink soda water. I would go over all of my pitches that I was going to send to ski magazines, to Vice, to mainstream publications. And Rob and I would talk about the psychology behind the pitches. Like, what are you trying to say? In a way, he was a bit of an editorial therapist for me. He was not, to be clear, he was not my therapist. He was my friend. But it was cool. For 3 years, he helped me really develop my pitches to bring a more human element. Because I do think, and maybe you see this too with SnowBrains, is like, we repeat a lot of the same narratives in snow sports. We went up, we went down. It was sick.
Turned left, turned right.
Turn left, turn right. And I think you and I both know on a fundamental level that skiing and snowboarding are so much deeper than that. All outdoor sports have a lot deeper meaning. And Rob Gaffney really helped me develop that skill. And what was crazy was he reached out to me and was like, I feel like this is what you're trying to do. And he nailed it. He knew. And I don't think he had any agenda. He wasn't like, also like, wear a purple shirt. And he liked that, like, I really believed in, and I still believe in, a nuanced approach to editorial. And I think that's what differentiates Gazette from a lot of other titles, is like, we can look at things with our own perspective, with a unique perspective. And I credit a lot of that to Rob, like Rob helping me and developing that. So
an incredible human being. For our listeners, Dr. Rob Gaffney, a psychiatrist and pro skier, if you will. I don't know if he would want to be called that, but an incredible
certainly pro skier.
Yeah, the most beautiful skier I've ever went with, and in so many movies, and just changed how I look at skiing and how I ski. I wish he'd have changed my form a little better. But he, when I had him on the podcast, he straight up gave me real-time therapy, and it was so impactful and changed how I see myself even to this day. And this is minutes with the guy, so I'm jealous of your time chilling in a bar with him, because I know how much perspective he can bring, and how he can relate everything to psychology and help you see that you're not alone, and these are the mainstream psychological pathways that we all walk through.
Yeah, man. So I'll tell you something kind of fun that I haven't really shared. So next year, the United States turns 250 years old.
Oh, that's right.
The Library of Congress, someone at the Library of Congress in the Rare Books Division is a Mountain Gazette subscriber and has invited me to give a talk about American outdoor media and the Mountain Gazette.
Damn, dude, congrats. That is so cool.
Thank you. My family and I are going to go out. It'll be open to the public. Like, tickets will be available. It's going to be in May. But one of the really cool things, Miles, was that they said that I could bring any media that I wanted to put in the Library of Congress. Like, I can donate. And
so I'm
going to reach out.
You're actually going to be able to physically put something into the Library of Congress. Congress.
Yeah, so that's not currently there, and I've been thinking a lot about this community, North Lake Tahoe, and like what would be sort of fun from like kind of in the spirit of like Rob and Shane. So I'm going to ask the Gaffney family for one of the copies of Squallywood. And my goal as a North Lake Tahoe resident, not a local, my kids are locals. They'll remind me all the time that I'm not a local because I wasn't born here. But I do think Dr. Rob Gaffney and Shane McConkey would get a real kick out of me bringing their book to the Library of Congress to put it next to Teddy Roosevelt's journals and Thomas Jefferson's letters about the beauty of America. And also why farting in the tram gets you so many NAR points. I feel like
that's beautiful.
that book's, and so that's my goal. I'll bring some Mountain Gazettes. Mountain Gazette will be there. I feel like Swallywood belongs in the Library of Congress and when I asked how long will it be in the Library of Congress, they smiled and laughed and said, as long as America is a country,
Forever,
we'll be here.
hopefully.
And so that's the idea. And so, yeah, I'll be doing that in May of next year, and I'm pretty excited about it.
And I am de facto excited about it. Wow, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's epic. That book also changed my life. Somebody, I don't know what happened to my original one. I have a second edition, but my original one, I was making marks in it and circling things and checking off lines and, the whole 9 yards, man. And we all still do, at least Tahoe people still do stupid stuff to get NAR points for and whatever value that has, it's I don't know. There's some kind of cultural currency in it that they created, and it's so fun. And the biggest thing is that the British would say it takes the piss out of skiing a bit. We don't have to be so serious.
That's right. I've friendly with Matt Peterson and Greg Wright. I've known for a really long time over at Palisades.
Tahoe, they're great.
Yeah, and they're not an ad partner. And what I say is like, instead, what if you put up like a Saucer Boy statue in the village? And I really do feel like the reason why there should be a Saucer Boy statue at Palisades Tahoe in the village is that I feel, and I'm worried, that we are coming back to this phase where people are taking skiing and snowboarding a little too seriously. And I feel like a statue like that's completely ridiculous. Like, to be clear, I want this like Willie Mays outside of Oracle Park quality, like a bronze statue of that Hank photo of him with the bottle and the saucer. We all know it. He's standing on his tips. And I think that it should be something of this type at a time when skiers and snowboarders took the sport way too seriously. A man from this valley reminded us that this is supposed to be fun. And I think that that's the correct message for all of us to take whenever we ski, either the Palisades side or the Alpine side or really anywhere in Tahoe or Jackson or any school, is that, yes, you can go out and get rad, but you should also have a sense of humor about it. This is supposed to be fun. I know that those guys listen to the podcast, so write to, comment on the Palisades Tahoe Instagram that you want a statue, and maybe enough of us get out there, we can convince them to build this probably extremely expensive statue in Palisades Tahoe, because I think it's cool. And also, guys, if you're looking for an ROI, it's incredibly Instagrammable. You know what I mean?
Man.
So like, there's that
Endless.
part. But
Yeah, I see everybody would want a photo with that. Well, I'll put in a word with Matt and Greg too, man. That is,
there you go.
That's the best idea I've heard all year. That is beautiful. And for our listeners, he's on snowblades, wearing a ridiculous outfit. He's got like a turtle. He's got a snow saucer, basically attached to his back. And
cheese grater, some rope.
Cheese grater, all kinds of stuff hanging off of him. He looks ridiculous. He's got a bottle of Jack Daniels in one hand, and he's doing basically a wheelie. He's up on his toes, making this fun gesture. And it very much embodies the fun and the joy that can come from skiing and the not taking it serious.
It's why I live here, because I find that these communities exist kind of everywhere. And I think outside looking in, I used to think Tahoe skiers were very arrogant. And then I got in on the joke. And I realized that it's not arrogant. It's confidence and humor. Yeah. And some of the best humor is committing to the bit. And I think if Shane McConkey did anything great, he committed to everything he did in his life. So it'd be it's just like a good reminder, good vibe check when you're walking in, getting serious, trying to get in line early, blah, blah, blah. Of like, okay, this is supposed to be fun.
This is supposed to be fun. Yeah. It can get kind of intense. You're right. These days of the KT line at early morning. Yeah. I like to hear that people get a little crazy, and it'd be more fun for people just to be having fun. And this is way off topic. So we're way on a tangent now, but I just want to tell our listeners, if this interests you at all, my very favorite ski movie is 1999, which I know Mike knows about. And I love Immersion. Back when we had VHS tapes, I dubbed them both into the same tape. So it was just like one continuous, both Scott Gaffney movies, who's Rob's brother, legendary skiers, who originally from Big Tupper in New York and came out to Palisades in the 90s. But 1999, especially if you have any interest in skiing in Tahoe, I just watched that over and over and over and over again, and it's still my favorite ski movie by a long shot.
Yeah, man.
We'll switch back to the more business-like subjects, because I do got to know, Ski Magazine, Powder Magazine, Skiing Magazine, Trans World Magazine, Snowboard magazines, they've shut down, or they're doing 1 or 2 issues a year. What do you think Mountain Gazette has done that's different from all these other folks? Because they're going downhill. You're obviously going uphill. What did you do? What did you figure out?
My first job in journalism was working for a weekly newspaper. Mm-hmm. And I think fundamentally the editor and I are like opposite ends of the spectrum as far as our belief systems. But the thing that we share deeply is that if you don't care about your readers, it's abundantly clear. Mm. If you're just trying to monetize your readers, it's abundantly clear. I think one of the things our readers probably know is that we have a high price point, and we don't run advertorial, and we don't run a lot of online advertising, almost none. Advertising makes up less than 5% of our annual revenue. And so what that means is the magazine is the product, not them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, like, to sum it up broadly, like, I think when media companies make their audience the product, people don't want to be bought and sold. People aren't commodities. We value the voices of our readership, even the ones that we don't agree with, even the ones that I just think that I can't speak for why each of those went sideways. I mean, you have to remember that I worked at Powder for 3 volumes, and one of those was the 40th anniversary, which I'd argue the 40th anniversary issue of Powder is one of the best magazines that's ever been made. So I think that, like, it ultimately comes down to just like a value system. And I think that when you have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, it's hard for everyone to agree, hey, the food should be good. You know, because one person might be the money guy being like, yo, we can't serve that, it's too expensive, or hey, we can cut corners here, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're pretty pure. Like, we want to make a good product. We want to make a good piece of literature every 6 months, no more, no less. And I think that's it. And I think we will make mistakes along the way. My general manager, Austin, and I talk a lot about we learn in public, though. Like, case in point, we are upping our paper quality for the next issue, because I feel like the paper we used the last issue, like we tried something new, didn't really work out. To be clear, from our customer service data, 99% of our readers did not notice, but we knew. And I think it would have been easy for me to be like, whatever, they'll get used to it. We didn't want them to get used to it. So we're not going to correct. We're actually going to overcorrect and not go back to the old paper. We're going to go back to, we went to a better paper. We tested it out with 6,000 issues this summer. We shipped them to some readers. We market tested them. And at market test, there's no like Google form or anything. Yeah. It's like, hey, how's this feel? And they're like, it's heavier. It's better. It feels better in my hands. We're like, thanks. We'll use that. But yeah, I think that's the key, is just, it's harder when there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and all of those titles you mentioned had a lot of cooks in the kitchen and a lot of different motives. So it's certainly no fault of their editors, their contributors. That's for sure.
So I am curious about your time with Powder and the modifications that they've gone through. How do you think Powder has changed since you were sitting in the editor's chair? And what was lost when Powder's print edition went dark?
So I was always a bridesmaid. I was never the bride. I was never the editor at Powder. I was the associate editor and the managing editor. I worked under Derek Taylor and later John Stifter. And I don't know. I think institutions like Powder, and I would call Powder an institution, it's not a jet ski, dude. You know, it's a battleship, and it's very hard to turn a battleship. Case in point, like, I wrote a story about street skiing. It was certainly not the first time someone had written about street skiing for Powder, but it was my first piece, And we got a letter from someone saying that I was ruining powder. I was ruining like the sacredness of powder and all that. And another letterer said they hoped I died in an avalanche. That's how upset they were.
Oh my gosh, that is awfully mean and specific.
Very specific.
Jeez.
Thankfully, man, at that point in my life, I wasn't really moving an avalanche terrain. I wasn't going to die in an avalanche in the UK. So I was more likely to get stung. Yeah, I get stung by a bee or something like that. So I do think it's a reflection of the leadership that's there, the publisher and the editor. And when I was there, I mean, Derek Taylor is one of the best editors I've had in my career. And that's counting mainstream media outlets I've written for too. John Stifter and I felt a little bit like the movie Step Brothers and both the beginning of Step Brothers where we like really disagreed.
Along.
No.
Yeah.
And then there were other times where, I mean, my God, like he was part of the Stevens Pass avalanche, that was covered in John Branch's snowfall. I mean, that was powdered. I mean, and I think tragedy can bring people together. And I would just texted him last night. I wouldn't say that we're like very, very close, but I like to think that if I needed John, he'd be there for me, and likewise. And the same with DT. I mean, Derek has given me, he's also a father of 2 boys. He's given me a ton of dad advice, but I was very sad when Powder went away. And I don't think it was any fault of the editors there. But I do think one of the ways that these magazines can lose their way is they end up doing 50 different things to get advertisers to put money in, just so they can go do the thing that all of us want, which is to make a other side of skiing, sweet, off the cuff magazine. Matt Lorelli, I think is his last name. I'm never really sure how to pronounce his name, but he lives in Truckee. I helped him find his spot in Truckee.
Oh, cool.
And I think what's cool is that, as I mentioned, powder can be a tough place to develop your craft. I think I'm starting to see the old powder shine through again, being off the cuff, making it something that people care about. On the print side, that's not really up to the editors. I know that those guys would like to do print issues. I mean, Dave Reddick still has the photo director over there, still has the best eye in skiing.
Because they're still doing one a year, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'll say this: as long as Powder's making a magazine, I'm going to get it for sure. So I feel a kinship to the title. Dave and Jake Moe are really important in my life. I try to reach out to Dave, Captain Powder, every couple of months, see how he's doing.
Oh, Captain Powder. Okay, I wasn't sure who you were referring to.
Yeah, so Dave and Jake Moe, the brothers are the founders. They were inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, and I rerouted a road trip and showed up to their induction party the night before. And
that's good for you.
Yeah, we ran a photo in the fall issue last year of their induction. So in the Mountain Gazette. So I just, Tom Byron runs the Drake magazine. Steve Casimiro, these are former powder editors. Steve Casimiro runs Adventure Journal. Cade Krichko, who was an intern when I was there, runs Ori magazine. I feel a real kinship to the people who I worked with at Powder and who worked there before me.
I'm sure. And I agree. I think you're right. I think Matt's doing a great job with Powder Magazine right now. I hold out hope, too, that it'll come back to print in some way, shape, or form, because I think you and I feel the same about Powder Magazine. I mean, to me, winter, or the excitement for winter, started approximately August 28th, the day that you got your Powder Magazine. And that's when you could count on, and you'd see other people that were. That
was actually like the date. I can remember, like we'd send the buyer's guide, like right around that date. So that was good.
I remember the exact day. Yeah, because it's like you're waiting and kind of pissed, like especially if it came a day late or something. And then when you saw other skiers and snowboarders in real time in the mountains, he was like, "Hey, did you see that article about this?" Or hopefully your ski town got featured in some way, and you're stoked about that. And that's when, to be crude, like that's when the stoke started. Like that's when people started getting excited. You knew that it was close. And that was the day that the excitement for winter started.
I think what's cool right now is that you have Betsy Moreno over at Backcountry Mag, and I think Backcountry Magazine does an incredible job. They are a very small crew out of Vermont, out of Jeffersonville.
Yeah, I met Howie. Is that right?
Adam Howard, again, another good. He writes for us at Mountain Gazette, and so
he was super cool.
He's great. And then Lily Kress Ritter is running the Ski Journal, and I think she's doing a really good job too.
The Ski Journal is beautiful.
And it is beautiful. And I mean, I think ski media is in a good spot. I think it's a little oversaturated. And I think, and that's not me asking for anyone to go away, but I think that, I think there's the availability for the magazines that exist in the ski space for someone to step up and take the crown, you know, to be like, this is us. We're the king of ski media.
What does that entail? Like, what are the values you think that organization or person would need to channel to get to that spot?
I can only say from a reader. I can't say from a...
We'll say it from a reader.
I want something that feels necessary. I don't want... If I want to know something about gear, I go to Blister Gear Review. I go to Jonathan. You know what I mean? Like in that crew. But I think from like a soul perspective, I think it's like it's there. Matt Hansen and I used to joke that like all the answers are in old people. The people like, it's not the people that just moved to a mountain town. It's not the people that have been there as long as I have, which is like going on 15 years. It's in the people that moved to Tahoe because they heard the camping was good. You know, Hank DeVray actually told me that the other day at my birthday party. He was like, I moved to Tahoe because I heard the camping was good. Like, this is one of the most consequential ski photographers of the last 40, 50 years, truly. And I think that needs to be an outlet that's looking for that. I want an outlet that's curious, that doesn't think they have all the answers. Because I can tell you at Mountain Gazette, like, we don't have all the answers, and our contributors don't, but they have answers about very specific topics. And I think that's what we're trying to show people, is that there's these, if you are super online, you might feel like you know everything. And then you get Mountain Gazette and you're like, what? I had no idea this even existed. That's like my favorite editorial response. And so I'm hoping that there's a title out there that can find that. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's open. It's there for the taking.
It is there for the taking. That's for sure. And there's some strong competition out there. You mentioned that 5% of your revenue comes from advertising. And my guess is you don't just take on any advertiser. What is your process there?
The first thing we do is we don't pit our advertisers against each other. Our ads cost what they cost. You don't get a price break for anything more than a 2 to 3 year commitment. And on the 2 to 3 year commitment, you're buying your space. And when I say we don't compete, like, we'll use Jackson Hole as an example. Jackson's been the opening spread inside cover ad partner for a couple of years now.
Awesome.
They know what that costs. And we've had tons of brands and resorts come in and ask to pay more for that. As far as we're concerned, Jackson's a regular. It's cheers, dude. Everybody knows your name here. You know, like Connor is not our VP of sales, is not trying to price gouge. And I think the thing is, like, for Jackson, that's their spot until they don't want it. You know, Snowbird's in that second position. Snowbird's there. It's their spot until they don't want. We prioritize the companies that want to be in both issues. And we don't call them, they are advertisers, but we call them partners, because one thing we do is we talk with them. We tell them our growth. We share our failures. We ask them what they have going on, what's happening. And that's not for coverage in the magazine. It's actually for coverage in our Sunday email, because we find that to be a valuable resource for our readers. Of like, Kings and Queens of Corbis is a great example. Is I think a majority of our readers don't know what that is. And we let them know what it is. And also, like, they're probably sitting at the office or at home and being like, hey, there's a live stream going on Wednesday. And the best skiers and snowboarders that are in Jackson right now are hucking it into the Sycamore. And I think that's more of the utility of our newsletter, of just like informing people. We don't prioritize our ad partners. Like, we're just like, hey, reach out to us. We'll let our readers know what's happening if we think it's of value. We're probably not going to let them know that you install the new magic carpet that you sent out in the press. But if there's like a band and a brewfest happening somewhere in New England, like, or a concert series that tickets went and so forth, like, I find that to be a valuable resource. I think that's the key, is we're supposed to entertain and inform. But we have turned away a couple ad partners. We've only rejected like 2 creative. We do have first right of refusal on, or the final say, I guess would be a better way to put it, on creative. And usually what it is it's just like a design standpoint. I mean, a lot of these creative directors are designing like Instagram ads. Right, they've never designed like, I mean, by comparison, that makes Mountain Gazette like a billboard. Right. And so some of these young designers have never designed ads for print either. So we're like, hey, like, this is the gutter, like, stay out of the gutter, like, put your subjects on the left and the right. And I think Joe Johnson over at Solomon does a great job You know, like sometimes he came into my house when I first started and we were looking through old ads in previous Mountain Gazettes. And I think that really helped him inform how Solomon makes ads. I mean, so Solomon doesn't have an action shot. Like it's literally like skis up against a wall almost as their next ad. And you get to see their entire ski lineup in a huge format. And like, I just think it's really cool. It's a very classic 70s, 80s style ad thing. And I think companies like Yeti and Arc'teryx just do like, they get it, the size. So they go with like just incredible photography. I think Sundance, Nick Como really gets that.
Sundance Ski Resort?
Yeah, the ski resort. Yep. And so they really
Great
show
spot.
yeah, it's
Very
awesome,
cool
man.
spot.
It's so cool. Nick really shows like people will stay for the photo. And if you have their attention, why not tell them something? So he's been doing a lot about their conservation efforts at Sundance, which is cool. Alta's very Alta in that they're creative and a little kitschy. Their next ad is like the 88th anniversary, and it's just Powder 8 photos.
Oh, beautiful.
It's epic. You know what I mean? And you're like, that's clever.
Clean
that's
and
cool.
simple.
Yeah. I think we kind of hold them to the same standards as our contributors of like, you have the space. Don't just like chuck anything in there. Like use it. And know that we are not writing resort guides. We're not writing gear reviews. Like this is the only opportunity for people to hear about resorts or gear or any kind of product. Use your space. We're allowing you, this audience that's vast, wide, affluent, deeply committed to a value system, like talk to them, have a conversation with them. And all of our ad partners have done a really good job of that in the last 5 years.
And speaking of your audience, what might be some of the best reader feedback you've gotten?
Going with Derek Taylor, I could sit here and could tell you for probably 20 days the positive feedback we've gotten. The negative feedback is my favorite. It does inform us. Less than 1% of 1% don't like the size. It's too big. It's too cumbersome. Some people want a digital version of it. Like we would never do that. That's like literally
PDF
like
or something. Yeah, no.
we couldn't. It would just like defeat the purpose of the whole project. What I think is very cool is the Jaded Local column. One, it's satire.
No, you have Hans Ludwig?
Yeah, Hans. So when Powder went down,
That's epic.
we threw Hans a life raft, and we've had the Jade Local, and he's been the back page columnist for the last almost 10 issues.
He's my favorite. Continue. Sorry, he's my very favorite.
Yeah, so Hans writes for us, and I think sometimes people give full-throated defenses of Vale, of the Epic Pass, of Rob Katz. People give full-throated defenses of just things he writes about, of like why they own a camper van. I mean, I will say like Hans was the first person I edited when I got to Powder, and I used to take it seriously too. I mean, it's satire. So
Yeah,
I think if it
very good satire.
It is good satire, but I do think we get a lot of that. We've gotten some feedback. Ryan Salm did a piece on the fires in LA.
That's great.
About he went with World Central Kitchen, Chef Jose Andres, and
Wow.
Ryan was at a station. Mind you, this is the day after the inauguration, the most recent inauguration of President Trump, and Kamala Harris showed up with her husband and Secret Service, but no photographers, and ended up at Ryan's station.
Wow.
And was there for a few hours, and she was done running for office. She had just lost the presidential election. I found it very telling that she showed up in LA and was serving food to people. Some would accuse her of that's a political move or a movement. She had absolutely no idea that Ryan Salm from Mountain Gazette was there, and he was the only photographer there.
Right.
And so we ran a small photo of it, and we mentioned it in the story. We had a few people that accused us of that being political, but we also ran a photo of Jennifer Garner, who was an actress who was there, and like we weren't doing it for fanfare or celebrity culture. We were like, these are people who actually care about a community and showed up. We ran a lot of photos of people who are not notable, famous politicians or actresses, more of them. And the story was about people coming together and World Central Kitchen mobilizing all these food trucks to help feed the people who were saving Los Angeles from the Paradise Fire and Palisades Fire. Was it Palisades Fire? It was Palisades Fire. Yeah. Paradise Fire is in Northern California. But we read it. We read the feedback. We take it under consideration. We read the comments. Part of being a reader-driven, subscriber-based magazine is that you are beholden to your readers. But I think part of our media diet has to be eating your vegetables. It might not be the tasty chicken wing, cheeseburger, TikTok diet that algorithmically is being fed to you, but I think it's important for people, like I think of Ari Schneider's story on disc golf. Disc golf has like a very serious community. It's honestly where skiing was in like 2002. And it's really, really cool. It could be an Olympic sport one day, but it's not yet. It's not even close to becoming one. Or like the idea of can read stories about ranchers losing their ranches in the West. We took a different approach. We wrote about the families who had already lost the family farm and were getting their kids into rodeo so that they could still maintain some of that cultural heritage of their families. That's another Ari story. But I think that like we are not chicken soup for the outdoor soul. That we're not here to like make everyone feel warm and fuzzy. Like there's some things in there that are prickly. There's some things in there that are complicated and might not be digestible. But that's the point of making a magazine that comes out every 6 months, is that you don't have to read it all in one sitting. You can wait. And maybe someone brings it up in conversation 3-4 months later and you're like, oh yeah, Mountain Gazette did do a deep dive on that. And you can go revisit it. We appreciate reader feedback. I like it.
And speaking of 2 issues a year, is that the sweet spot, or is there room or space in the future for more?
If we're doing more of their books, but I'm not, no more 2 issues a year. That's it.
I like that. Nice. And what are the biggest threats, you think, to small magazine today, to Mountain Gazette, to the other ones, Adventure Journal, these ones that we talk about?
By definition, like if you're a magazine like of the readers, for the readers, you can get complacent. Well, I was talking about this earlier of like developing talent. I think you constantly have to be reinventing yourself, not form factor, but editorially. And I think the big thing is that there's a lot of opportunities to compromise your values. I can tell you right now, like we turned down a low 6-figure ad partner because we didn't think it was a good fit for the magazine. And we weren't dicks about it. We were respectful about it. But I think, I mean, I could tell you like that would have been incredible for us from like a growth standpoint. We could have reinvested that money into trying to grow our subscriber base. It would have been awesome. I do think there are some things that have to be done the hard way. And subscriber-based media is the hard way. Paid readership it's hard because you can't, there's no layups. They're all center court 3-pointer shots.
Yeah. And how do you find new subscribers? Because that sounds like the hardest part.
We have a robust email list. I mean, we could probably spend the rest of our time just doing that. I'm certain people have seen the Hey There, I'm Mike Rogge Instagram ad that's like everywhere. I mean, that ad works. That's a really good welcome mat, if you will, to our values, to who we are, that we're a small team, what we make, the craftsmanship behind it. My wife is our vice president, and she's heading up an initiative to get us into some certain hotels, and not for free. We're going to be a luxury item that you can actually pay for. You could take it out of your hotel room, bring it home with you, and you pay the full price. It's actually more expensive to take it out of a hotel than it will be to subscribe. But I think a big thing is not being afraid of finding new niche audiences. Like I have no idea how many like disc golf or rodeo people signed up for an issue of Mountain Gazette, and then we're like, wait, this isn't about disc golf and rodeo. Like just not being afraid editorially and finding new niche audiences and validating them, really, of being like, hey, I mean, they do exist. So I think that's the key for us, is showing that these cool microcosm groups of people exist. And so we're finding people that way. And then the old fashioned way, man, word of mouth. You walk into someone's house, this big ass magazine sitting on the table. They're like, what the hell is this? And it starts a conversation. So I think that's another way that we do it.
That's beautiful. Word of mouth is the best, I have to say. And I think we both agree. So what about legacy? What do you want people to look back on? And what do you want the legacy of this era of the Mountain Gazette to be?
So one thing I'm thinking about right now is that our story the last 5 years has really been, we brought it back. And I think the story going forward is it's here to stay. Like we are a part of outdoor culture. We reflect outdoor culture. We're a tentpole of it. We're big, and we're not going anywhere. I've had offers to sell the magazine. I've turned them all down.
Damn, you're doing well, man.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing is I don't ever think it's appropriate to sell a magazine when it's doing well. If you notice, magazines kind of only sell when they're dying. And I want this to be the era that we figured out how to keep a magazine alive beyond our years. Whether that's trying to figure out an endowment or partnering with a museum and a university or putting out this legacy book, this anthology. I think the thing is just to keep doing what we're doing. I think of it a lot like boot packing, to be honest with you. The one or two steps I make right now in front of me at the bottom of a boot pack don't really matter. It's like you're getting started, right? They're kind of the hardest ones, but you're pretty grateful if they were easy, the right steps that you made when you're 30 minutes into a boot pack or an hour into a boot pack. I really do think that's what making a magazine is like you're on a boot pack and like, dude, we make one step every 6 months. So like, it's going to take us a long time to get where we're going, but I think that's the key, and can't even see the top. I mean, I think we're in the first inning of this thing, of how we want to do this. So that's the key for me, is just what we do right now. These are steps that are important for what will define us later.
Journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Well, I think that's a great legacy. I like that idea a lot. Is we brought it back, and now the idea is we're here to stay. And I think it will, and I truly hope it does. Mountain Gazette is a beautiful, beautiful publication. That's all I got for you, man. Is there anything you'd like to share here at the end of the show?
I'd like to actually just say kudos to you. We were talking about ski bums, and like you are one of the last remaining couch surfing ski bum guys. I think that the way you set up your business informs kind of how you live your life, and not the other way. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're living your life, you're skiing a lot. So like, kudos to you, man. You're skiing a lot. Hopefully we can get some turns together this winter. And I really appreciate you allowing me a platform to talk about this stuff. It means a lot to me.
I really appreciate your time and energy, and especially the kind words. I will continue to surf those couches. Have a great rest of the day, Mike. Thank you very much. And yeah, let's go skiing this winter. Thank you so much for listening to the SnowBrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with friends and family, and please be sure to subscribe. To find out more about SnowBrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, X, Facebook, and more. This episode of the SnowBrains podcast was edited by Liam Abbott, and I'm your host, Miles Clark.